I feel like everyone I know who's around my age and into video games has a very weird relationship with Sonic the Hedgehog, especially the Sonic Adventure series, myself included. This is a game I have much more of a history with than others. It's one of the first games I remember finishing all by myself over 10 years ago. It's a game that, before this review process began, I hadn't played in many years. It's this incredible anomaly that I have brilliant and lovely memories with, as well as horrid and poisonous memories with. It's a game I hold in high regard and also one of the worst 3D games I've played. Today I'm going to try and dissect this odd relationship and figure out just why it is that I love and hate this game so heavily in both directions. I remember the Dreamcast being a part of my life as long as I've had memories. Even though the first game I remember playing is Super Mario World, I also remember playing things like Marvel vs. Capcom and Jet Grind Radio around that same time.
Yo, Sonic! Sonic! Man, stay off the light speed!
My bad.
And two games I remember playing a ton of, or rather watching my brother play a ton of, were Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2. And also Sonic Shuffle, but that's really not important. My opinions on Sonic Adventure 1 are roughly the same as what I'm about to talk about with 2. The main difference is that I feel much more strongly towards the second game in general than I do the first. A more tightly woven connection to it, if you will. Sonic Adventure 2 led me to something of an obsession in my mid to late elementary school years, to the point that it was about all I played. I bought the collections on GameCube, I read some of the comics, and I always worked towards getting a giant Shadow the Hedgehog plushie when I went to Six Flags. I was a fan, an enormous fan. I bought Shadow the Hedgehog no less than 3 times. I played and completed Sonic and the Secret Rings, and way back before the dawn of time in 2007, I played, completed, and enjoyed Sonic 06. I even bought an Xbox 360 just to play it. It's not something I'm particularly proud of, but it's not something I'm necessarily ashamed of either. See, in my recent years, I've grown a lot as a person, and not to get too personal, but I have an incredibly positive outlook on life. And I also have clinical depression. It's a strange pair of things to carry with you, and it has its effects, sure, but I generally feel that sadness and problems and tragedies are beautiful things and normal things, rather than crippling circumstances of life. I started playing and getting into Sonic Adventure 2 around the 4th grade, and it was around that same time that I started to really feel the effects of being depressed. I was alone a lot, I lashed out at people for very minute things, and I felt very out of place. Naturally, this meant I turned to video games. I played a lot of different games back then, but I remember it being my mission to complete Sonic Adventure 2. I was at a point where I really didn't have any goals other than to make it through the day and to lose weight, and as silly as it sounds, it was very important to me that I finish this game. And you know what? I did. I beat the game, I watched every cutscene with a gleam in my eye, and I admit, I picked up a toy sword I had during the credits and jammed out to Crush 40's Live and Learn. I was overjoyed. I had done something all by myself that took effort over a long period of time, and my experiences and memories of my playthrough will always stick with me as a crowning jewel in my mostly dark childhood. But that was then. Like I said, it's been many years since I've actually played the game for myself again. I've seen recent reviews of the game, and I know generally how a lot of people feel about it, so I sort of jokingly say it's terrible nowadays, even though it's a favorite of mine based on nostalgia alone. But do I really not like it now? Can I even form an updated opinion on something I hold so near and dear to my heart? Well, now, I don't care who you are, I don't care what your daddy does, I don't care what your GPA is, just about anyone, whether they hate this game or not, likes this opening level. I'd argue it's what most people think of when they hear Sonic the Hedgehog. Granted, Sonic does do some pretty bonkers stuff in this intro, like this. But man, as soon as he slaps down on the pavement and that song revs up, it is 2001 all over again. Also, the song has lyrics. Silly, dumb, wonderful lyrics. This is one of the only games I can think of with a soundtrack that has lyrics during the actual gameplay, and I actually kinda love it. I feel like lyrics are an interesting artistic choice for a game, and like Metal Gear Rising, it only adds to the hype and excitement already present in the fast-paced stages, and it's something I really wish more developers would use. The first stage is full of excitement, right off the bat challenge, and even does a great job in teaching you basic mechanics of the game with Sonic without relying on intrusive tutorials. It's fast, it's mean, and it's iconic. The only problem is that it sets an expectation. See, this game, as a lot of you already know, is very polarizing. Not just within the opinions of fans and non-fans, I guess, but within its own stages. The fast-paced, energetic gameplay of the first stage? Sorry, that's only about 1/3 of the game. The other 2/3 is made up of entirely different gameplay styles. Kind of like Sonic Adventure 1, but with less. And that's a good thing. A huge problem with the original Sonic Adventure is its lack of focus, and the sequel definitely has more of it. But it just isn't enough. Immediately after this beginning stage, you're thrust into the coolest part of this game, according to 9-year-old Emma. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, they gave Sonic his own Bizarro, his own Venom, his own Dark Link, Shadow the Hedgehog. He's here talking to himself over the flaming remains of a mech that Sonic took care of that also clearly had a pilot inside, and Sonic interrupts him because he notices Shadow is holding a Chaos Emerald. Shadow then gets the best of Sonic by using an ability called Chaos Control, which means he can basically stop time by tapping into the power of the Emerald. Sonic is then surrounded by the police and arrested. Other than Shadow just sort of being there for no reason, the first cutscene is also pretty promising. There's a new mysterious villain, and even though it's the dumbest thing ever, Sonic is being mistaken for Shadow by the entire city, or world, I guess. We have a problem, and therefore, a plot. Great. Then we cut to Tails on his way to bust Sonic out of a maximum security prison while flying a plane that transforms into a mech. Also, Amy is there for some reason.
What's Amy doing here?
Yes, Tails, what is Amy doing here?
Doesn't matter, doesn't matter, doesn't matter, doesn't matter.
At this point, we've already been through one boss fight with Sonic and the mech, and while it was pretty uneventful and possibly fatal for the pilot, it wasn't exactly bad. But then we have a mech fight with Eggman, and it's pretty extremely impossible to control if you ever want to turn. I've seen a lot of people online say that you can win this fight just by pressing B, and I can get him to near death by doing this, but he does move eventually, so that's something. Again, the fight is pretty easy, not terribly fun, and ultimately harmless. After the fight, we head into Tails' first actual level, and I'd like to get this out of the way right now. I really don't understand the complaints with Tails' laser being too loud and obnoxious. It's actually one of the only instances in the game where it seems the audio was mixed properly, and the beeping, while still totally unnecessary, is mostly drowned out by the music. The level itself is also pretty short, but that's really not a bad thing. As with most of this game, it has some camera and control issues that cause some cheap plunges into pits, so there will likely be some redoing of sections, but like I said, it's short so it never feels more punishing than it should as an entry level. There's also an unhealthy amount of things dropping in front of you from the ceiling in this game, causing you to get hurt. There's really not enough time to react to a lot of these, and it seems like this strange addition only in place to slow your forward momentum in a Sonic game. And all Sonic games have things like this that slow you down for some reason, presumably to make it so the game isn't just holding forward for 4 hours. But giving these things the ability to harm you or kill you while it's been done before is still a little unfair. This is a problem I have with most Sonic games, but it isn't something that I think completely ruins the design philosophy of a platformer where you go really fast. You're usually given plenty of space to spread out and zoom through levels with enough skill, but I digress. This level is basically about 3 minutes of walking through hallways, locking onto enemies, and killing them to open a door to the next hallway until you reach the end. It's very simple, but it does teach you everything you need to know about how to play Tails for now. His later levels also teach you some new mechanics as they're introduced, and they all are moderately simple and add to his gameplay nicely. The only problem with his levels is that they are insane juxtapositions to the momentous, energetic Sonic and Shadow levels. Tails' movement speed is just way too slow compared to the Hedgehog's, and while his level design does complement this, that level design doesn't really feel like it should be in the game in the first place. After playing City Escape and seeing how cool 3D Sonic can be when it isn't plagued by horrendous glitches like in the first adventure title, Tails' levels simply feel like they were ripped from a different game. And Eggman is Tails' gameplay counterpart, so everything I've said applies to his levels as well. Knuckles and Rouge, however, are a slightly different story. They feel similar to Sonic and Shadow's gameplay in their movement speed, but their gameplay, abilities, and level design are all, once again, radically different. Just like in the first adventure game, Knuckles' levels are all about treasure hunting. The Master Emerald gets shattered, again, and Knuckles has to find all the missing pieces that somehow make their way across the entire planet after shattering from what I guess is an accidental punch. This is fine. This concept doesn't bother me too much. Sonic levels based on exploration and discovery to break up the constant adrenaline of the Sonic stages? That sounds alright. See, I don't think Sonic games always need to go insanely fast to be considered Sonic games. The games were never really just about going fast. There were slower, more methodical moments and even puzzles, so I'm fine with them expanding that in a 3D game, even if those design aspects had to be relegated to another character entirely. The only problem is that it barely works. These levels aren't broken by any means, but the emerald pieces, of which there are 3 in every level, are never in the same place twice. And I'm not much of a completionist, so A ranking everything isn't really my style, but for those of you who are and like this game, I'm very sorry. This is near impossible with Knuckles and Rouge's stages. The emeralds are random, and to get an A rank, you need to find all the pieces very quickly, not use hints, and get a very high score. And this would all be so incredibly fine if the pieces weren't random and if the radar showed you more than one at a time. This means no matter what you do, you have to comb through the levels as quick as you can and basically get lucky if you want that A rank. And the fact that Knuckles runs insanely fast, maybe even faster than Sonic or Shadow, and the camera is crazy, and there's a swimming level and super huge level that makes Knuckles and Rouge the most painful characters to play, in my opinion. The Pumpkin Hill music, though? Perfect. And I mean that with complete sincerity.
Find my lost speeds. I know that it's here, I can sense it in my feet. The great emerald's power allows me to feel. I can't see a thing, but it's around somewhere. I'm gonna hold my head.
Honestly, as the game goes on, I have a harder and harder time enjoying it. Even the Sonic and Shadow levels seem to get a little too experimental with switch flipping and anti-gravity mechanics that are pretty vomit-inducing. And there's nothing wrong with experimentation, but it feels like the other 2/3 of the game was all experimentation, and I would have personally liked more consistent respite from all of the jarring gameplay of the other 4 characters. And the game's story only gets more and more crazy and eye-rolly as it goes on as well, but I do admit, I got a pretty good laugh from some of these cutscenes.
That blue hedgehog again, of all places.
I found you, Faker.
Faker? I think you're the fake hedgehog around here. You're comparing yourself to me? Huh? You're not even good enough to be
I'll
my
make you eat those words.
Not as much as the great Froggy escapades of 1998, but still. And as I crawled my way to the end credits after several hours of confusing nostalgia and groaning, I realized that this game is not what it was to me when I was younger. It's silly to say, as anything you like when you're younger can't and won't be the same over a decade or more later, but still. I think this game and how it made me feel in such a dark time so many years ago affects me in significant ways today. I don't really like this game anymore, but you know what? I'm still gonna play it again. I still had a smile on my face throughout most of my recent playthrough. There's a lot to love here, and I'm glad that I have this game to come back to and reflect on how much I've grown as a person in such a short time. I'm glad that this game is exactly how I remember it, and also nothing like I remember it. I can see it for all its flaws and understand that this game has an innumerable amount of problems, and still love it. And the fact that I still love it despite all this, to me, means I have something very special on my hands. I watched the ending of this game and got teary-eyed, I must admit, at Live and Learn, and the brilliant little piano piece that plays during the character's final monologues. Yeah, I cried at the end of Sonic Adventure 2, whoops. Still, this game is beautiful to me. It exemplifies my ideas that games can be beautiful and that flaws in art can be beautiful. There's no game on this planet that I think no one can get enjoyment out of. And that's my whole thing, you know? Let's talk about games like they're art, and like they mean something to us individually. Let's not get caught up in top 10 best or top 10 worst. but let's share our experiences and learn about each other through what we love. Even if it means having to listen to this. Hey! Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my video about Sonic Adventure 2. Got a little emotional, but a lot of my videos are gonna get emotional, so sorry. This is it's a very special game to me. It's a very weird game to me. I have a lot of weird feelings about it, and I don't know. I wanted to share them with you, because I think a lot of people might share those feelings and how polarizing and crazy it is to like this game and also hate this game. But that's the video, so thank you again very much for watching. Please like the video if you liked it. Please dislike the video if you disliked it. If you feel like you really liked this video and you want to see more of my stuff in the future, go ahead and subscribe. If not, that's perfectly okay too. Also, enormous thanks to Ace Waters for letting me use his Chemical Plant Zone song in this video. He's just a super duper cool dude and a really great musician, so there's a link in the description as well as on screen to go check out this cover as well as his channel, so please go check him out. I've been binging his stuff like crazy and he's really, really awesome. So thank you again, Ace, and yeah, I really appreciate it. This has been Heartbox. Have a wonderful day, thank you for watching, and please remember to smile.